But
North
you
Pole.
get me though. When you flip a pole on a magnet, and the blade, you keep your pole how you got it. If your blade's aligned with the poles, and then you flip the poles on the magnet, the blade should just flip the other way with the magnet. But it's not doing that. It's flipping 90 degrees.
I'm only putting one pole of the magnet into the blade. Well, technically, I'm putting both poles there, but the magnets are escaping in every direction through that knife. They're coming out this way, they're coming out that way, this way.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when it's facing this way, the North Pole is pointing down because the whole blade surface is resisting the North Pole.
Right. Okay.
When the South Pole, the blade edge faces north and the back of the blade faces south, or something like that. That's what I was. That's what I was trying to show you that night. Is that
The
the
surface
magnetic?
area was causing that to do that instead of what you would think it would.
Because one pole it's coming out like that, and the other pole it's coming out like that. So you have a square
Spin.
shaped pole, and then you got a diamond shape, diamond point shaped pole.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, if you ever go to Coral Castle, like walk around the sunbed,
The what?
like
The sunbed.
it's called the sunbed, and just kind of like walk around it, kind of like I'm doing this garbage can. You know what I mean? Walk around it, because when I mean, because one fountain is this shape right here. Right here is the shape you use, and I can tell you right now, I study enough Benjamin Franklin that I know for a fact that if I keep my lines dry lines out here, like Benjamin Franklin, most people didn't know that part of the experiment that you stand inside the barn holding onto the end of the kite string and you put the key outside in the rain just above the ground and it'll jump to the ground before it'll jump to you in the barn because it only travels along the wet line. It doesn't like to travel along the dry line. So we all know how a capacitor is made with good old glass bottle. So when I make my coils around the bottle, which I could use copper wire, but I got to make sure it works out right. I got to get all my steps correct. You know, it's easier to work with string. Put it in a bottle like this, and I can just go around my circle. So that's why I was doing
You're,
that. Huh?
I have a little, I have a little factoid that a lot of people might not know. Um, Animals are very tuned of magnetic north. If you ever watch a cow eat, you'll always be facing north.
Huh.
If you watch some certain
Keep that
animals,
in
it will,
mind.
yeah,
I'm
animals.
moving to where there's a bunch of cows.
So when I did this one, this is what's called a left hand because the coil is coming around like on my index finger out to my thumb. Like if you follow all these, oh no, this is a right hand. This is right hand. My mistake. This is right hand because the coil comes out just like that. If I do it the other direction, it'll be a left hand. And I can't remember which one works better on this hemisphere because if I make my north pole, because you know what I'm doing with these bottles, how I put the bottle neck right up into the rock, and then I fill these with sand, and that makes a conductor from here to here with an insulator through there.
So, what are you trying to achieve with the device? Sorry.
Oh, you didn't know I cut rock?
Yeah,
No, no, I don't know.
it
Oh,
I'm trying
it
to figure out what you're doing.
it
Sorry.
spins on its own and it
well, it
slowly.
doesn't own, but I mean, it's just like a lawnmower. I'm after the high voltage spike that gets sent out every time the magnet passes the coil. I just use these coils. They come out
Right,
of the dishwasher. Bring
right.
them.
Right, and that spins it and it eats away at the rock. It's
And
Egyptian technology. He's trying to demonstrate, replicate
so
what they were doing
instead
to
of using
cut their stones.
the one battery, and I don't have my dinger donner. The two copper pipes with the metal clacker in between, the iron clacker in between. You know what I'm talking about, Mike. Not you,
Yeah.
Faraday, Mike.
Yes, the relay.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was saying is I have to use enough copper mass to equal the mass of one of these iron bars. I mean,
He's using copper pipes as a reed function to trigger the flyback coil.
So when it comes in, ping. That's why I always got these like hanging from lines in a V shape, you know. So it's just like hitting a sawhorse, a weak sawhorse that wants to wobble. And because the copper is non-magnetic, you know, it don't matter how many magnets are here. So I can't use two iron pieces because, you know, the magnets don't make them want to stick together. So, oh, no, should be able to see that pipe moving down there. But, you know, it's a lot more mass and we're barely tapping it. But it's basically like the Newton cradle. So this one comes back, it'll continue swinging, and then it comes back, hits the other one, which causes it to come back while this one's coming back. They smack into each other, and then that's why you get that harmonic beam going on. You know what I mean? You've heard my wheel running.
Yeah, the Egyptians had coils, man. They had that light bulb.
So, in your opinion, how do you think at least Gallon was constructing the coral castle?
I'm telling you, he was using the flywheel like a lawnmower.
Right.
Have you ever taken out the spark plug out of a spark plug or even dropped the crankshaft on it? You know what I mean? So you literally just have the crank and the flywheel turning.
Yeah.
Now put your finger, take your shoe off, put your foot on the deck of the lawnmower, and take your index finger of your right hand and stick it in the boot of the spark plug. Now pull the rope.
Right.
You're going to get the piss shocked out of you. You know, every time you pull that wheel. And that's what Edward was doing, except for he was getting 12 to 24 pulses per rotation. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And I made a video called Zapparilla, something like that. And I hooked the high voltage transformer in line into the dishwasher coil. So, you know, I'm not getting the full potential of the transformer because, you know, it's going through the thin wires. And when you guys were talking earlier, I was like sitting there thinking about, I used to ask people all the time, you take a 100-watt aquarium heater, right? Put a 25-watt light bulb in series with a 100-watt water heater, right? How much water does the water heater use? It doesn't use more than 25 watts. The light bulb restricts the current going through the water heater. So even though it's a 100-watt water heater, it'll only heat at 25 watts.
Right, because that's the load. Yeah.
And I used to show people all the time.
That's if you put it in series.
Yeah. Exactly. You put it in series. And this is what I tried to show people when I was back in the day selling people gasoline. Is in America they put it right in your face with Phillips 66 and Union 76, which all you see is a difference of 10, right? 66 to 76, right? What's that have to do with the price of rice in China? Do you know what I'm talking about? Either one of you?
The price of where?
No. The gas station sign of 66.
Yeah, the difference of 10?
Do you know what the difference in 10 is about?
No.
Number one, when it comes to taxes, there's 9/10 of a cent on every gallon. So if you're buying multiples of 10, which most cars barely hold 10 gallons if you run them completely out of gas, you get what I'm saying? So you can't buy the 10 gallons. Where's that fraction of a cent go? And I mean, for an individual, it doesn't look like much, but you got to remember, we're doing the fraction of a cent multiple millions of times each day. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's that one. So you need to buy 10 gallons at a time versus 9 or 8 or 5 or you could buy 20 or 30 or 40, but it has to be in multiples of 10. So your lack of common sense, which is 0.009 on the accounting line, which Excel only goes 0.00. So if you multiply it times 10, that brings us to common sense that you have, which would be 9 cents. But the other one that they don't tell you is that a gallon at 66 degrees, if you raise the temperature to 76 degrees, it'll increase in volume by 1%. If you increase the temperature to 86 degrees, it increases by 2%.
How'd you tie this together?
Years ago, I thought my neighbor was building a boat in his garage, and only to realize that if I went inside of this house and not just looked in his garage, I would have seen the wings of the airplane inside the house. But he was building the plane out in the garage, or the body of the plane out in the garage. And he had this radiator. It pretty much looked like a transmission fluid, basically. But so one line was coolant from the motor that goes through there, and the other line was gasoline. And with a valve, you could use up to 180 degrees coming from the motor coolant to heat up the gasoline before it went into combustion, and you get better gas mileage, but you'll lose power because you're just increasing the volume of the gasoline, but you're putting it closer to its flash point, because you can't go. I think it's like I want to say 132 degrees. Gasoline will just spontaneously combust, and you don't want that. So, oh, hold on a second.
But by raising the temperature, you create more fuel overall.
Yeah, you cut the fuel.
It's expanding, yeah.
So that's when they put them into in-ground tanks. And
So cooling the gasoline is just.
Hold on a second. So, as I was saying, if you put 25 watt light bulb in line with a 100-watt heater, that heater isn't going to heat to 100 watts. It's only going to heat to 5 watts. And if you look around the gas station, how many lights are being used?
3. No, it's 2.
There's 2 lights used in the gas station?
Wait, the gas station itself?
Yeah. Like I said, how many lights? Look at next time you go into a gas station, just look up in the store and count the lights. Just count the lights.
Okay.
And think about how many watts is being used there. And then think, there's a 2,000-gallon tank outside. And what happens if you heat that gas underground? I mean, the ground is a great generator of heat. You get what I'm saying?
Damn, they're selling you warm gas, and then it cools off in your tank and you lose it.
Yeah,
That's so dirty.
Yeah, they're selling you gas vapor.
The lengths they'll go to,
right? And then when it cools off in your tank, it goes back to the liquid state.
Well, no, it's still liquid. It's just warmer liquid, and it's more liquid because it's warm.
It becomes more dense, yeah.
And then it goes to your tank, and now you're losing your money twice.
Yeah.
You lost your money twice.
Look what they do when they do the vapor recovery.
Some money.
All the new gas tanks have a vent on them. So when they start pulling a vacuum through that hose pipe, they're pulling the gas vapor out of your tank, which goes into their tank. And if it's colder, it will condense. And the ground temperature stays like 50-something degrees constantly, if I remember correctly. Unless you go like super deep, and you're in like a geothermal area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I told people. It's like, you'd be surprised.
So they can hold more gas down there.
Well,
it's colder.
Now, I mean, they literally take a delivery and they just measure how many inches the tank increased by. Because you got to remember, the truck's been on the road. And if it's during the day, it's heating up the gasoline. And when you pour it down into the cold gasoline, you might have emptied, 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, huh?
You might have emptied 1,000 gallons out of the truck, but the tank is only registering 950 gallons for delivery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the gas companies know this stuff because they're in the process of heating it up and cooling it down in the distillation process. I mean, in the 1920s in America, you'd go to jail for putting ethanol in your motor car. You'd go to jail.
I heard that ethanol is not so good for your motor either.
Well, you know why it's not good for your motor? Because it's a water-based fuel, and they're using water-based fuel with oil-based fuel. And how do you get mayonnaise to work? You got to stick an egg in there to get the water and the oil to combine together.
Right.
And with ethanol gas, all you got to do is add water to it, and you can tell how much ethanol was in there because the ethanol will bind with the water better than it does with the oil. And so that's why we show people that's how you do that one to see how much ethanol. And ethanol, once it's heated up, like your Stirling motor, thermal acoustic motor, were you using alcohol in it? Ethanol?
Yeah.
Do you know how to tell the difference between ethanol and methanol by burning it?
It's the color of the flame, isn't it?
Yeah, if you got a lot of methanol, it'd be yellow flame. And if you got a blue flame, that's hard to see.
That's sulfur, no?
Huh?
Isn't it yellow sulfur?
I don't know, but that's how you tell the difference between the ethanol and the methanol. And I tell everybody all the time, it's like, when I run a batch, it's like, and as soon as that flame is burning blue instead of yellow, that's when I'm like, okay, we can drink this.
Your regular engine, your combustion engine will run just fine on pure hydrogen with like no carbon.
Yeah, like what I like about the Stirling engine, you can run that engine on pretty much anything.
The Stirling runs on temperature differential.
That's right. Yeah. It's a thermal transfer device.
Hot side high, it'll run. But if your cold side gets hot, it'll stop running. Just so you know.
And usually what guys will do, they'll either liquid cool it with water or they'll put a heat sink on.
Hey Mike, you know where the best place for a Stirling engine on the house is? And you're going to agree with this. The roof.
On the up. Oh, that'd be good.
On the roof.
The attic. The attic heats up in the day.
How about the black driveway? You could have a...
If you could keep the top part cool and just shade it or something, and just have the heat from below running it from the attic.
Hot air in the top and the cold
Make
air.
a water filled the top part, the keep it filled with water and shade the water from the sun, and that's it. Like
some people circulate water through like a small copper pipe and wrap it around, and then they'll have a little pump running to keep the water circulating around the cold end. That way,
could have a small solar panel doing that.
Yeah. I've seen they were showing some guys.
You literally take the heat from your attic and convert it to get rid of
anything.
Anything.
That's what I love about this engine. You can feed this thing.
At the same time you get the heat out of your attic, you turn it to electricity.
Sure. Yeah.
And when it gets cold, the attic is still warmer.
Well, the other one too, the one that heats up the hot water in your house. You can feed some of that hot water, run your Stirling engine off your gas coming in the house that heats up the your hot water tank.
That give you a reason not to insulate your hot water pipes if they're in your attic.
Like some of these motors, the temperature differential between the two hot cold could be quite low, and these motors still run.
They still run, right? Yeah.
They still run.
It's the diaphragm that does the surface area.
Yeah. I seen other guys, they were taking like satellite dishes and they're making them actually into parabolic mirrors and just focusing it on the Stirling engine, and the freaking thing's running. It produces more power than a solar panel.
Naturally.
Yep.
What's the dipping bird? You guys ever played around with the dipping bird?
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
My friend was wanting to make a huge one out of what the hell was he wanting to use? Propane or something. I think he was. I mean, he's down
You
there.
could use anything. Now,
Yeah.
what's actually quite interesting about this Stirling engine, they've had a prototype running for about 4.5 years at NASA. They made one, and the things run flawlessly, nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for
Right.
4 years.
Off the ambient temperature from the inside and the outside.
So they got a small unit they built, and they want to start using it as a power plant for future space exploration.
It's crazy because you don't need a battery for it, nothing. All you need is temperature differential.
That's right.
Yep. A hot side and a cold side. Yep.
I mean, if you live by a lake, you're done.
Yeah.
You throw a heat sink into the lake, tie it to your Stirling engine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Put a black tar mat on your roof. Black tar mat on your roof. Heat up the water, and then have that water run over the hot. Like I know, like the pavement in the summertime here, if it gets 30 degrees, that freaking tarmac, we use a lot of tar on our driveways, and I'm telling you, it gets freaking hot. And it's
You can power the whole damn country off those roads' heat if you put strips in them, and heat sinks.
Like
It's
I know,
ridiculous.
like
You don't even need a
driveway.
Stirling engine. You can just take it solid state, the heat to right through a diode.
Yep.
You get DC
Like our
energy
driveway.
straight out of it.
Like in the summertime. Go ahead.
Oh, I said that's why I use that black sand, that magnesite sand that I collect from the beach, because when you run that on top of the magnet wheel, that stuff goes marching around, so it kind of acts like a water pump. And then the other thing I realized is that I can take a pool of water and put it on top of the black sand, and then I can focus my magnifying glass on that black sand under the water, and that water will start boiling in that spot.
Yep.
So, and I got thinking about how there's more surface area too, because it's like a bunch of.
I hear in Greenland, all the houses are powered from geothermal. They have coils under the house.
I mean, they got volcanoes sitting right there. Why not?
They say they bury just a large steel plate under the ground.
Well,
A friend of mine's got a geothermal system.
According to
Something like that. It's just a heat sink, really.
Yellowstone, the volcano in Yellowstone used to be out in the Pacific, and it's been like moving from the west coast. There's like a chain of volcanoes